Hello, welcome back to Shene Monal FS Academy. Once again, I want to give us a breakdown of how far my trade has gone for this week. As we all know, we are trading the 6K funded account. I want to give us how the market really went. Actually, this week was a profitable week, and we also had some losses. So I'm going to share my video. So I'm going to share how come about the profits, how come about the loss, and what is our expectation for this new week. We're going to look at the charts together, analyze the charts together, then let's see what this new week will play out and what are the lessons learned in just this concluded trading week. For me personally, I learned so many things. As we have already known, nobody knows it all in forest. You keep upgrading yourself, updating yourself, learning new things, learning from your mistakes. But in this concluded week, what I learned personally was, I think, although it has been with me for a very long time, I stick to my rules. I think that was a pass mark for me. I stick to my rules. I did not break my rules. For you to be profitable or to be a good trader, the number one rules you have to follow is to stick to your rules. When you begin to stick to your rules, it does not matter if the market goes in your favor that particular trade, or it does not go in your favor, or it goes in your favor. You are not after that. What you are after is, am I able to follow my rules? Do I keep to my rules, or I go against my rule? Even when you go against your rule and the trade go in your direction, like my own kind of person, do I make money from that trade? But I will not be happy with myself, because will I be able to sustain that win? There's something I did, and what happened? That means I did it randomly. The question is, will I be able to maintain what gives me that win? That is why I will not really be happy about the trade, even though it gives me some money in my pocket. I'm not really thinking about the immediate. I'm looking at the long term. And by the grace of God, God helping me for the past 2 years, I've been able to sustain that. And we're going to see what really happened this week. If you have been following my style of trading, you will notice and you will understand that I always talk about using the Fibonacci. I trade in between 61.8% and 50% fib retracement. And also my second entries always come around the high and low of the immediate structure, either in the major structure or in the minor structure. Anything outside this is what I just apply once in a while, maybe based on my knowledge and how far I've gone in forest, and I feel that this trade should go in this direction. But 99% of time, my entries always come from those two uh, areas of the market, or zones of the market that I just mentioned. I want us to be free, and let's have a time to talk about what we have done this week. What are the lessons? Yes, I was profitable, and why I said I closed the week being profitable was because my wins were more than my loss. And that's why I said risk management is the key. And what always helped me, as I've always said, is I always go for 1:3. and at least it was a good week for me, especially with my uh, personal account. For the funded account, it would have really been a very big win for me. I don't know what happened. That's why you have to be very, very careful when you are to take any of your trades. Make sure your take profits, you place it very well, your entries, your stop loss, and all that. So I just woke up on the just to check and discover that my trade was you just stopped along the way. I don't know. Maybe I didn't place my take profit properly. I think that was where the problem really came from. So when you are trading, you have to be yourself. You have to calm down. You don't have to rush things. You have to make sure you are putting in the right figure for your stop loss, for your take profit. That was one of the lessons I learned. This happens once in a while. If you have ever experienced it, please don't fail to drop your comments in the comment section. It happens once in a while. Like what happened to me this week. The last time I experienced it was something around last year. So I don't really know what happened. Maybe I wasn't composed enough to when while taking in my entry or putting in my stop loss and my take profit. That is lesson number one for you. Don't be in a rush. Settle down. If possible, write it down. Don't just say it or from your trading view, you are just calling the figures. No, if possible, write it on a book. Then from there, you type it into your MT4 for your stop loss and your take profit. So let's go into our chart uh, to see really what really happened. You can see my chart. This is the 4-hour time frame. Don't forget, this is USD CHF. I trade USD CHF, USD CAD, and GBP USD. These are the three pairs I trade. But as we continue, if there are any of the trades, any of the pairs, rather you want me to analyze for you for the new week, don't fail to drop it in the comment section. I don't trade gold, I don't trade crypto, Bitcoin, rather, and some of these other pairs. But US30, if you want me to do some analysis to give you my thought process and how I see the market, you can drop a comment on for me on the comment section. All right, let's go to the chart. This is the 4-hour. Let's just go back to the weekly candle so that you can see what is happening. This is where I got the concept from. Like as I said last week, I said immediately, let me just put this just to pass a message. Just watch me. Immediately this area was broken. Can you see? I just want to use it for explanation. I will remove it. Immediately this area was broken. This was a resistance and this was the support. So it was ranging in this area for a very long time. I know what this means. This is in the weekly time frame, but day traders will have a lot of opportunities to make some money from this zone. But this is what I contemplate on, why I conclude that I will continue looking for sell. So immediately this area, whatever name you want to call it, like in Shene Monal FS Academy, we keep it simple. We are not concerned about those big words. We are all saying the same thing. Like I always said, if you can give it a name, that suits you is okay. If you want to call it what other persons are calling it, it's okay, maybe to sound professional. But most importantly is making the money and knowing what works for you. So immediately this area was broken. This we can see it tested it here. It came down, it tested it. Came also this area, it tested it again, and finally it break through this zone. Through this zone. This is a very strong zone. So immediately this zone was broken. It makes me to start looking for sell only in the lower time frame. Let me delete it. As I said, I just want to use it for illustration. Let me take it off so that we can have a clean chart. Remember, in Chenemona FS Academy, we keep it simple. Don't have a chart that looks too ugly and uh, making things look complicated for you. Just make your chart simple. Can you see? Can you see? Immediately it broke this zone, came all the way down here, came up, and finally came down to create a new structure. It broke this previous structure, trying to create a new structure. Let's go down to the daily time frame. This is the daily time frame. Can you see? Don't forget, let me show you something. This was the correct structure in the major structure. I will remove it. This was the current low and the current high. This was the current high and this was the current low. This was the current high and this was the current low for a major structure. A major structure. Take note. But what now happened? Let's take it off. Let's take it off. We can now see that a new high has been created here. So this now becomes the current high of the major structure. We are expecting a current low to break, to take off this current low to give us a current low at this area. But we have not seen that yet. I think we have gotten that. Maybe we'll get it clearer in the 4-hour candle. You can see it has broken it here. It has broken it. But before then, let's see what happens. I'm trying to give us a review of what I'm trying to give us a review and a breakdown of what we did in just this concluded week. Now, let's go to 4 hours. Like as I said, I do more of day trading and swing trading, depending on what the market presents to me. Now, these are my entries. Take note, those of you that were with me will understand. If you were not if you have not watched my previous video, you can go and watch it and see how I came about this analysis. Now, this is my first entry. I take profit at this zone. I take profit at this zone. Yeah. Let me zoom. Don't forget, this is the current low and this is now the current high. As at when I took these trades, when I took this trade, at that time, this current low was not formed. Was not formed. This trade, I got it. I made a lot of money from this trade, I made a lot of money from this trade. And this trade was the loss I had. And I will give you reasons why I took this trade. I will give us a very strong reason why I took this trade. So in this concluded week, I risked 40 pips to make 100 and, if I'm seeing it well, 164 pips, approximately 160 pips. So I made almost times 4 of that trade. I made almost about 4% from this trade. Like this, I made about 3%, risk 1% to make 3%. Like as I've always said, I always risk 1:3. 1:3. I risk 1% to always make 3%. I risk, for instance, let me give an example for newbies. I risk sometimes $50 to make $150. I risk $100 to make $300. So whatever money I want to make must be times 3 above of what I am risking. Now, look at this trade. This was a trade in my funded account that just closed prematurely, closed me in profits. That was a lesson I learned. I did mistake. Maybe I didn't put the figure very, but my live account, all this money went into my pockets. And don't forget, forex is not always win-win-win. And also, this trade also went in my favor. Now, what happened here? Look what happened. Let's just take this. Let's see if we can have multiple touch. When I took this trade, there was something of this nature. When I took this trade, there was something of this nature. Actually, this trade, as I said, was not really part of my trading rules. But with experience, like as I've always said, such trades, I take it once in a while. Once in a while. Most of the time, I don't take it. I've always told us the two kind of entries I do take in all of my trades. But in this case, I discovered that this key zone has been tested multiple times. You know, it breaks it. Actually, it did not break this zone very well. It pulls in. It breaks it again all the way down to this place. So I was like, let me give it a try and see, because sometimes I've entered such trade before in the past, it goes in my favor. That's why the more time you spend on the chart, the more experience you will have. So it clicks immediately to my memory. I say, wow, I've seen something like this in the past. Even though it was not actually in my trading rules, I was like, okay, let's give it a try. But if I'm going to do anything, I let it go above this a little. Even my stop loss was not properly placed very well. Let me just say this trade is more of a lock to me. You can see it almost hit my stop loss, came all the way to this area, and finally pulled down, went in my direction. So I was almost taken out. Why I was almost taken out at this point was that I always trade in between. You know, if you look at it, try to divide it into two equal parts. Try to divide it almost two equal parts. Though I didn't really divide it very well, but that was the concept why I took this trade. So I was lucky. This trade finally went in my direction for my own personal account, and I made some few money from this, from my funded account. And don't forget, we are still trying to bounce back from our drawdown. We are in a serious drawdown, so we are trying to bounce back. We are trying to risk little to see how we can just come back to the original amount we had in our account. That is the aim and the objective as at making this video. Now we are not talking about profit. As I've always said, there's nothing like making money. You pass your profit, phase one, phase two, you are funded, and you could not even have a withdrawal. Yes, as I've said, in fact, it's better you shouldn't have even passed to that level. That is why we have to be very, very careful. What we are after, it does not matter how long. We are not in haste. We are not trying to see how we get this done sharp, sharp, because it's in that trying to do things as quick as possible that most traders, they get it wrong, and most of the time they break their rules. So we are not doing that. We are trading it with stress free, trying to follow our rules, and we are actually keeping to our rules, and that is what we teach and we mentor many of our mentees when it comes to Shenemonal FS Academy, because the strategy is everywhere. There are a lot of strategies on the internet, but how do you work on yourself, your mindset, your thought process? Because when you are in a trade, the ability for you to take certain decisions at a particular time is what makes you a good trader. At that time, there are a lot of emotions. So you have to learn that part of forex trading. In fact, that is the forex trading you need to learn. And that is why when you are trading demo, you make a lot of money. You are so free, you are so relaxed trading demo. But when it comes to your live account, you start losing a lot of money, making a lot of mistakes. And that is why you need to work on your emotions, your mindset, your psychology. As we have always said in Shenemona IFS Academy, strategy is not your problem. Your problem is getting the right mentor, getting the right mindset, working on yourself, your personality, because your personality plays out when you are in the forest, when you are in a trade. So you can see, like what I've just said, I've given us the reason why I took this trade. And don't forget, this trade is in the major structure. Don't forget, this was the current high and this was the current low of the minor structure. As at then, this current low was not formed. Now you can see I just put this trend line to give you reasons why I took this trade. There was a trend line close to this zone, you understand, and this was a support area, you understand. It was broken, as I always said, support on what resistance. It was broken. This support area was broken, was very strong. It broke it and came into around that zone. So within that zone, I was seeing a trend line. You know, I don't always use trend line. I just want to put it for we to understand. These are some of the confluences that I always look at when taking my trade. So I saw something like, okay, there's a trend line around this area. This is a key zone. Okay, I think is a risk worth taking, even though my Fibonacci rule was not there. That was what prompted me to take this trade and actually went in our favor. Let me remove the trend line. Don't forget our rule. Make it as neat as possible. Now you can see this is not the minor structure. This was the current high and the current low as at when I took this entry. I mark the current low, the current high and the current low. That was what I did. What did I now do? Immediately I got the current high and the current low, I pull my Fibonacci 2 and dragged and dragged. Good. So let me do that again. And dragged. Can you see that? Wow. Immediately I saw that, and I took, don't forget, this is 50% Fibonacci region, and this is the 61.8. Those that are following me will understand. So I trade in between. That is where I took my entry, put my stop loss around this area, and take profit around this area. I wasn't greedy. I was tempted to allow the trade to run. Yes, I would have allowed that trade to move and break this zone to get to this major zone of this major structure. Why I did not allow that trade to run was because I was already in a serious drawdown with my account, especially with my funded account, and I don't want to take any chances. So I don't want a situation coming to this area and finally the trade finally pulls all the way up and take me out. So I don't want it to take me out, and I'm trading an account that has its own tight rules. So that is where I was able to overcome greed. For you to be a good trader, you have to overcome greed. Don't say, oh, if I had left it, I would have made all this money all the way to the downside. And the same way too, if you had left it, you can also lose all your money that you have made around this area, push up to the upside. So that's why forex itself is a very risky industry. That's why you have to fight and kick against greed. At this point, I was not greedy. I was already comfortable with what is the market is going to give me from this minor structure. Immediately it got to this area, this zone, I took my profit, I walk away. While I was waiting for my take profit from 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 the major zone. So this trade was taken from the major zone. That was what really uh happened. So that is the analysis of what happened for this week. So what we are looking up to, and before I took that trade, this was what happened. uh this was what I looked out for. You can see there was every reason for me to take. Can you see the trend line over there made me to take that trade? So what we we did in this week, that was the money we made, and we are looking up to see how this new week will look like. And whatever comes up this week too, we're going to share our thought process, and come and share if there are profits or if we have made some losses, and if we made some losses, why did we make those losses, and what did we actually learn from it. So don't fail to like, to share, and comment on our videos for we to give you more quality content.